Swear or affirm testimony you'll give to the court today be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, if you would, please have a seat and state and spell your name for the record, and just speak towards the microphone both now and when you're giving your answers, please.
He has not
Chris
aged
Melton,
well.
CHRISMELTON.
What are we doing, cameraman? Thank you.
Mr. Melton,
Bring him under the hand.
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Loganville,
All right.
South Walton County, and Covington address, but I went to Loganville High School and School District.
Okay. And did you graduate from Loganville High School?
Yes, sir.
What year was it that you graduated from Loganville High School?
1996.
After you graduated from Loganville High School, did you go to college anywhere?
Yes, sir. Georgia College in Milledgeville.
Okay. Back when you were in high school, did you play any sports?
Yes, sir. Football, track, a year of golf. He's always was pretty busy with sports and involved with the school.
Once you got to Georgia College, where is Georgia College?
It's in Milledgeville, Georgia.
All right. When you got there, did you try to get connected with anything that was sports related?
Yes, sir. Once I was there, I wasn't on any type of sporting team, and I kind of missed the interaction. I missed being involved with the school, and I actually had a friend that I had made along the way that had come and introduced me to the cheerleading squad, and I thought that was interesting. So that's where it started there, sir.
Had you done any cheerleading before that or anything?
No, sir.
All right. Did you take to it pretty well?
I did.
Okay.
I was pretty athletic, and with the coaching and so forth, and the support, it came pretty easy. Yes, sir.
Did you end up finishing your degree at Georgia College or leaving before you finished?
I left before I finished.
Okay. And so I want to go to your time while you were actually there at Georgia College. Did you ever meet a young lady by the name of Tara Baker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How'd you meet Tara?
I met Tara through actually one of the cheerleaders I have become friends with, Phil Peavy, and his sister was Ashley Peavy, and that was one of Tara's closest friend, if not best friend, and that was how we had the introduction.
And Ashley Peavy, does she have a different name now? Is she married?
Yes, I believe it's Ashley Hall.
Okay. And if you pardon me for just a minute, I'm going to pour myself a glass of water. Would you like a glass of water?
Yes, sir, please.
We just started.
Oh, for the love of all things holy. Sir, do not try to be charming like our defense attorney, Mr. Cruz, is. You do not have that kind of charm. Can't pull it off.
So Ashley Peavy, who is Ashley Hall, now introduced the two of y'all. When you left Georgia College, where did you go?
Once I left Georgia College, I moved back home with my parents.
So when you and Tara met at Georgia College, did y'all ever go on any dates or anything?
Never.
Yes, actually, the first date we had was her sorority, 80 Pi sorority, formal, and she did not have a date, and I was approached, would I be interested in being her companion for the evening, and I was all for it. Yes, sir. And
Okay.
that was our first date.
At the time, was Tara someone you were interested in romantically?
Before that, I would say no, sir.
Okay.
We had introductions, and I thought she was gorgeous, but I wasn't pursuing. No, sir.
Okay. And so did your relationship become more serious after you left Georgia College?
Yes, sir. We the night of the formal, we kind of had a spark, and while I was at the school, we crossed paths and so forth, but in social events and so forth, but our relationship took off after I had left, and she had moved back to her parents, and we got reconnected, and that's when it really became an exclusive relationship.
And you said when when she went back to her parents, do you know where her parents were living?
Her parents lived in Lovejoy.
Okay. And do you know what she was doing when she went back home?
She went back home. She started working at a law firm, a real estate law firm.
In Lovejoy?
I believe it was.
Okay.
They're in the vicinity.
While she was at Georgia College, do you know what kind of student Tara was?
She was an incredible student.
Okay.
Sure.
How long, if you know, did it take her to graduate from Georgia College?
I believe it was early. I believe she was a year early on her graduation.
Okay. And do you know how many degrees she graduated with?
I believe 2.
All right. How did that compare to you as a student?
She outperformed me, by all means, in most, I would say.
She was
And
wicked
I'm sorry,
smart.
I cut you off. You said "and most." Is
I
that
would say
right?
in most, yes, sir.
Okay. When you got home, and college didn't work out for you or wasn't for you, what were you trying to do with your life, or what did you decide to get into?
Well, I was introduced to a plumbing ad in a newspaper by my mother the first day that I made it home. I came down the stairs, and as I turned the corner, she's sitting at the dining room table with the newspaper open and had already highlighted a plumbing job that was advertised. And she said,
What am I watching? This is creeping me out. What is happening right now?
So he decided to get into plumbing after, like, his mom says, "You're moving back in here. Here's a classified ad for you to go get some work."
Uh-huh.
This does not seem like the type of scenario where, hey, this skilled labor is going to be good for me. I'm going to make some money. It's steady work, and my girlfriend's awesome. This is like my life is crumbling down while my partner, who is the girl in the relationship, is the shining star and looking like she would have to be the breadwinner if we stay together.
Yeah, Mama said, you're going to come move in here. Guess what, Bucky? You're going to be doing something other
Yeah.
than sitting around here collecting dust. That's what Mama said. Yep, get a job or get out of my house.
And Matthew's asking, is the prosecutor chuckling? I think that might be an attempt at a chuckle. I don't know if we can fully classify that.
This is awkward, and it's making me feel uncomfortable.
Well, what's
This
interesting
line
is
of questioning.
with some of the other witnesses, when there would be like the sketch artist lady, when she was talking about her memory, the jury was laughing, like with her.
She was very delightful. It was easy to do that.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like everyone can understand, and she's not gonna remember or whatever. But when they had the little joking banter about the water and not being as smart, no, the room was dead silent.
Yeah, that's ick. Ick. You dumb. Your mama said, go get some sort of skilled trade because you ain't gonna make it with the book smarts. Okay, honey? That's
And
what
anybody-
it sounds like.
I was like, anybody joining late, this is Miss Demeanor that's joining us. You might hear me call her Good Janet. Good Janet. And that
Good
is a
Janet.
joke that stems from the Zachary Adams trial. Not to be confused with Bad Janet. Her channel link is pinned in the chat and in the description. So make sure you give her a follow. She's going to give us witty banter all day. So let's see. Look at his freeze frame face too. Oof.
You're getting to work.
Yeah. So you weren't just going to get to hang out and watch TV, I guess. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that something you began to pursue kind of more seriously than just passing the time and making a little bit of money?
Yes, once I got involved, it actually became interesting. It seemed like a different side of my brain was activated. It was actually fairly easy to me. I'm not downplaying what the tasks are, but it's something I connected with very quickly. My father's side, he was a very good engineer, fabricator, pipe fitter. He wasn't necessarily a plumber, but he could build and take down and reconstruct about anything you could think of.
Okay. And were you and your dad pretty close?
Oh, very tight.
Did he tell you not
Is
to mess up
he
your
still
hands?
with us?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Sympathy.
And when did he pass away?
May 26th of 2024.
And so I want to get back to you and Tara's relationship as you're living with your parents and she is back home with her folks in Lovejoy. Around what year is this?
98.
Okay. Did you text a lot of people back in 1998?
I don't think I could text in 1998.
All right.
You could, it just wasn't
how
easy,
is
sir.
it that you and
Yeah,
Tara
a
were
pager.
able to reconnect after she gets home and you're home?
While I was still at Georgia College, we had started having affections for each other. We weren't in a relationship, but each time that we crossed paths, our eyes would lock and we'd smile and spend some extended period of time together. And during that time, before she left, before I'd left, she had found me on campus and made sure that I had her information back to Lovejoy, where her parents were, her phone number, her address, and she had written it on an index card. And once she handed that to me, I folded it up, put it in my wallet, and made sure I never lost it.
Okay.
Hey, pause for just a second.
And so how
Gotcha.
I just want to address, there's some questions or comments in the chat because I said, Mama said to get a job and he's not wicked smart like she is or was. I mean, absolutely no disrespect to the trades. Trust me, my husband, my son, several family members have worked in the trades. What I'm saying is it takes different kind of brain power to work in a corporate setting than it does to get out there and work with your hands and learn a trade. Trades are essential to
Well,
our existence.
I think there's a stigma. So no matter whether you and I can sit here and be like, thank God there's plumbers out there when we need a plumber,
Yes.
because we could never do that same thing. There's still a stigma, and there's the added stigma of, the would-be husband having to come to terms with, and this is over 2 decades ago already, where I think it was even more
Very
expected
different.
that the man would be the breadwinner and
Yes.
he'd be the one that was successful, and you're not going to go be a chef, we need you to be a lawyer or a doctor, all these different things. You have to go through your education. I think that's where we're coming from, you guys. The idea that when he was going to return back home and his girlfriend was going to continue on to law school after graduating from Georgia College, and he was going home with no plan, and Mom said, you better get it together.
Yes.
That's
And
his
here's
mindset
something.
at the time.
And here's something quick that you can jump right into that you will be able to support yourself and possibly a wife in the future. That is exactly what I mean by all of that. Yes. Yes, especially now because nobody goes into the trades. We've crammed
Yeah,
this
everybody
college
wants to AI their
education
way
stuff.
through.
And we've crammed the whole college education down everybody's throats. And now we're sitting here going, gosh, I need an electrician and I need somebody to repair this drywall in my house and paint my house. And put shingles on my house, all of those things.
Yep,
So that's all.
and
I just wanted to say that.
Just imagine being stuck 50, 60 minutes away from all the girls you used to be around. He's emphasizing how he wasn't exclusive with Tara Baker at a certain point in time. He was still playing the field. We've heard from Ashley that he's the type you have fun with in college, but not the type you date long term. And now you're removed from the party world, the college world. You're back home with your parents.
Mhm.
And then you hear that this girl who you might be trying to talk to is hanging out with people who are primed to be more successful in your mind, right? I'm not saying that literally, but in your perspective, you might be sitting there going, she's hanging out with all her law firm buddies.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
absolutely. Especially, I can tell you, Mr. Demeanor and I got married in 2000. And so this is very much the same time frame of when this was going on. And I know at my age, I was barely 30 when we got married, and it was an expectation. And Mr. Demeanor was a self-employed contractor. And all of my friends, when I met him and I said, oh, he's self-employed, they went, right, you mean unemployed? And I'm like, no, like he's legit self-employed
and now everybody wants to
supporting
be their own
himself.
boss.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's all, for the most part, that's all he's done has been self-employed. So I throw no shade.
All right, let me press this play button.
How far away from each other were y'all living during that time period?
Quite a distance.
Okay.
I would say.
As best you can recall, do you remember how long it took to drive from your parents' house to her parents' house, roughly?
Hour and a half, hour 45 minutes.
Okay. How did the relationship progress? Was it something that started quickly or slowly, or how did that happen?
Well, it progressed with the first phone call. I reached out, and our first conversation, it was like we had been talking the whole time. And I recall spending 2+ hours with her on the phone, and it just came naturally. And I recall her just being, so funny, so smart. She was intriguing. She just bragged about her family, her siblings, her parents, what they did, and the conversation would just naturally roll out, and that made me want to continue to speaking with her and further on. And then we spoke day after day after day, and then I was invited out to her home for our first visit and pretty much our first date.
Okay. After your first visit and first date, how often would y'all get to see each other in person?
On the weekends, mostly. She was working, I was working, and we would see each other like Friday night or like a Saturday night, what was available, working with our schedules. Never spent the night. It was just always a day visit, a night to the evening, and then either, I would have to leave, and then we would find things to do, locally or at her parents' house. We'd watch movies or spend some time with the family or whatnot. But that's how it slowly progressed there.
Okay.
Did I just miss Netflix and chill?
Continued that relationship.
think they had that then.
Did you learn anything about Tara's plans for the future?
Yes, she had admirations to go to law school, and at first I remember she wanted to be a Supreme Court justice at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And then she got into, when she was working at the real estate law firm, that sparked her interest. She started getting more involved in that, and I think she liked the, as she would say, happy law, and that kind of fit her and suited her personality better.
Okay. And so did she have plans to go to law school?
Yes, sir.
Is there anywhere in particular that she wanted to go to law school?
UGA.
All right. And is that something she was able to accomplish as far as being able to attend UGA Law School?
Yes, sir.
All right. And do you recall when it is that let me ask it this way. Did Tara end up moving out of her parents' house?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did she move to?
Her first apartment was Timothy Woods.
Okay. Timothy Woods, where is that? What city?
That is in Athens.
All right. And when, if you recall, did she move to Timothy Woods?
'99, I would say, around that time. 99.
Okay.
Somewhere in that area.
So when she first moved to Athens, did she move here to start law school or to start something else?
When she moved to Athens, she had a job at another law firm. Excuse me.
Was that law firm in Athens?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you remember how long roughly she worked there until she started law school?
Yes, sir. I would close to a year,
Okay.
I believe.
And so when is it that Tara started law school?
2000.
All right. And I want to back up and talk about what you were doing in this time frame. We talked about you had kind of found a home in plumbing. It was something that suited you and that you learned pretty quickly. Is that something that you were continuing to pursue?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so were you working for a company or how were you working as a plumber during that time period?
Okay. When I began, I worked for a company named Car Plumbing, and they had great ownership, great superintendents, great instruction, and that made things easier. And once I was there and I was exposed to the environment and blueprints and the procedures, it sparked I was a hands-on person. I liked putting things together. And so that helped me in actually pursuing plumbing in itself. I could see the potential. The owners of the business were very well off. They were very successful. So I saw a future in that, and that was a goal at that point. I could see that maybe this is something I need to stick with.
Oh,
Did you ever move out of your parents' home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you did, where did you move to?
I moved to Jamestown North in Athens.
Okay. Do you recall where in Athens those apartments are, or what type of residence was it?
They're more or less like townhomes, 2 stories that are close proximity attached, and South Millage Avenue is where they're located.
Okay. And when is it that you moved to Athens?
I moved to Athens in 2000.
All right. So at this point, how long had you and Tara been dating as a couple?
I would say over 2.5 years.
Okay.
At that point, around 2 years.
And so you moved to Athens when in 2000? I'm sorry.
I believe it was in April of 2000.
Okay. And so you're in Athens also. This is the first time that y'all are living back in the same town since y'all were in Georgia College. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And it's the first time you're living in the same town since your relationship has been serious over the last 2 years or so. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But y'all are living in 2 separate places, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How often would you get to see Tara once you moved to Athens?
Definitely, I was happy because we did get to see each other more often. I could see her pretty frequently on a daily, if not a daily basis, multiple times a week, upwards of 5 days a week.
Okay. And so we talked about the Timothy Woods address that Tara lived in from 99 to 2000. Did she move somewhere else in Athens around the time she was starting in law school?
Yes, sir. I believe it was Deer Park.
Okay.
Referred to.
Who did she live at Deer Park with?
She lived with, at the time, Ashley Peavy and Valerie Lang. I believe it was Valerie's last name.
All right. And Ashley Peavy, you mentioned her before from Georgia College. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How is it that Tara knew Valerie?
I believe she met her through Ashley. I think it was Ashley's old roommate, but previous roommate before.
All right. And so were Ashley and Valerie seeing anyone romantically?
Yes. Ashley was in a relationship with Chris Hall, to whom I believe who she's married to now, and they met in Milledgeville also, from my understanding. Valerie, I wasn't as familiar with their relationship, and I'm sorry, but I can't quite remember his name.
Well, that's okay. So, would you ever go over to Tara's residence once you moved to Deer Park?
Yes.
Okay. And would Tara come over to your residence at Jamestown?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all ever spend the night with each other?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so would she spend the night more often at your residence than you would at hers?
The majority of the time would be my place.
Okay. Were there times, though, when you would stay over at her place sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And were there times when you would go and hang out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a key to that residence at Deer Park?
Oh, you know
No,
he's going to
sir.
say no.
All right. Are you aware of any
Come on.
of the boyfriends having keys to that residence at Deer Park?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, what that law school experience was like for Tara. Once she started in law school, would that have been, August of 2000? Does that sound right?
Sounds right.
Okay. What was that experience like for her as far as academically and time constraints and things like that?
It was a new challenge. Her academics previously, I would say, came pretty easily to her. And then when she started law school, it was more consuming and definitely much more of a challenge.
Okay. Is that something that kind of compressed
time.
y'all's free time?
Yes.
I can rephrase
All right,
the
I'll
question.
sustain it. Allow
I
you
need
to
to-
rephrase if you choose to.
She did not want to sustain that. She said,
No.
so we have an objection actually sustained for the defense chat. Put a 1 in the chat.
Starting the Monday off hot, we are. Who knew? So funny that this whole moving around business, because again, this is funny to me because Mr. Demeanor and I got married in 2000. We were dating in 99. So it's the same time frame. And when I met Mr. Demeanor, I was working 53 miles one way away from where he lived. And I was also going to school at that time because I wanted to become a paralegal. Boy, that really panned out, didn't it?
So your
and-
time is just like non-existent.
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
that was what we decided in our relationship is, oh my gosh, if we are going to have any chance of seeing whether this relationship works or not, we need to move in together because at least we can be together while I'm studying and things like that. And, it would offer more time, but this mess he's talking about, this is like, it doesn't make sense. It sounds like she's getting away from him. She's like, yeah, you're fun. You're my booty call. And that's good. But
Which
I'm
is
gonna
what
go
he
ahead.
tried to characterize how they started with. And then he has to move back with mom, and then he's excited to move to Athens and have like an away from the parents again. And it just, some of this questioning reminds me a bit of John Carroll in the Brendan Banfield trial, where
Yes.
like the questions that John Carroll was asking on direct with Brendan Banfield are like creating these awkward, almost pregnant pauses
Mhm.
and eliciting like a sus answer. Like he tries to say that she's consumed by work, which could mean it's a lot more pressure, it's a lot more stress, it's a lot more responsibility. But then the prosecutor has to lead him into saying, and the time was short, right? Because in the prosecutor's mind, he knows he needs to get ahead of the potential
Yes.
motive of the relationship falling apart and feeling like the girlfriend that you don't want to lose is slipping away from you and not giving you the time.
Yeah.
So these awkward answers are coming from the prosecution's questions.
I know. And the thing of it is I don't think if they prepped him, I think that he's on the stand and forgetting I shouldn't say everything, a majority of what they prepped him for. So,
Well, he's had a lot of time.
I know, but the math ain't mathing with the time for me. And what actually goes on in a relationship if you truly are committed, especially after 2.5 years. Good grief, Mr. Demeanor and I, it was way quicker than that. We're like, hey man, we can't be wasting time. We know what the future is, so let's get
Move
to
it along. Move it
Yes,
along.
I don't need to date you for 2 years. Heck no, I was having a baby by then.
Yeah, I think it did a role reversal from how he started. He was playing the field, enjoying the life. And then once he was sent on an island, like an hour away, he was like, hey, this girl's willing to call me. And then maybe some dependence created. That's just how I'm thinking about this, guys. I'm not saying that everything I'm saying out loud is exactly how things were playing out. I'm just responding as if I was a juror sitting there hearing this go down.
Well, and
So-
especially like I say, the time frame, and I see Eve put young people in law firms are notorious for hooking up with each other. Honey, if you are single and in your early 20s and you are not hooking up with people, you are not living. I'm sorry. That's what you're supposed to do at that time. Don't wait until you're married and have kids and then decide you want to go hook up with people. That's what you should be doing.
You reminded me of something I thought about all weekend, and this was spurred by comments that I was seeing where, like, well, I see no reason that this defendant and Tara would have been hooking up, which, first of all, you might have a bias to address if you can't see that happening. Secondly, maybe people aren't understanding that the defendant on the stand at the age he is now, he was not that age back then. He was Tara's age group back then.
Correct.
He was much younger. I mean, these are the same age groups.
Ooh, didn't
And,
age well.
the idea here that Tara couldn't have been in like her liberation era, living away from her parents, working successful, like,
Living!
and the defense can't really get into it too much because of the Rule 412, the rape shield law. But this testimony, I think, is actually helping paint that picture that, hey,
Yes!
she's in a sorority. She had these formals, these events where you have to pick a date, and she didn't really know me, but she picked me as her date, and she'd send me flirty eyes on campus. I actually think he's a good witness to get this sort of idea out there that, hey, this victim who happens to be a woman talked to guys, because the defense can't seem to talk about it. So I think the
Exactly.
defense needs to lean into that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the point that I'm making. I don't know what the age of the jurors are, but if any of them are close to my age in any sort of majority, they're going to pick up on all of these things. They're going, just like I am. I'm sitting here going, no, in your early 20s like that, you should be living, you should be like, as I have said to my son, go be irresponsible now. It's the only time in your life you're going to be able to do it, because you will have to be responsible and take care of everything later on. So go have fun now. You have the rest of your life to be responsible. So go have fun. And I hope that's what she was doing, to let off steam from all of the pressures that she would have been feeling while going through law school.
So Gina says, can you explain the rape shield law? So a lot of states have their own version of it. In Georgia, it's 2414 or 4, and then 412. Lots of 4s in the OCGA code. But you're not supposed to, and I really view this statute as being designed to help a living victim, someone that would be a complaining witness, a testifying witness at a trial. The purpose of such a shield would be, you don't want to lose somebody's testimony at trial because they're afraid that by testifying to help convict a bad person, that they'd have to put their life on blast. And, it could ruin their reputation, sully their reputation. People could start humiliating them. You don't want a victim to have to do that just so they can testify at a trial over something that happened to them. So I think the law exists to protect a testifying living witness. Here it's being applied a little bit differently, but it's supposed to be that any sexual behavior you engaged in the past, it's not supposed to be admissible. There can be some exceptions, but here the way it's being applied is the defense so far can't even get into a possible encounter, the word encounter, at a public place, a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous. I feel like the law is being applied inappropriately in this particular instance.
I think so too, to the point where how do you constitutionally defend yourself against not just this crime at all? Like the idea that you and it's not sperm, right? We don't have sperm from Faust. We have DNA.
Do we really know what we have?
Yeah, and that's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? But assuming that we at least have DNA, there's still ways that you could explain that might not even be sexual in nature. So it's just a lot, and the defense, I feel like, can't fully flesh it out. So that's where we are.
The judge won't let him.
I think I would never want somebody to be the reason something makes it up to the appeal, and in case law things are defined and hashed out a little bit more. But maybe this is the type of case, if there's a conviction, where the appeals court can be like, yeah, he was denied his right to put on a fair defense because he couldn't get into things that are directly related to the elements of at least one of the crimes. Like, he's charged with rape and he can't get into
whether he ever had
encounter.
Exactly, whether he ever actually had an interaction with the victim ever.
So just crazy.
Which is kind of a double-edged sword, because how do you then, as the prosecution, insist that there was an encounter that was not welcome? It's like dumb. This is dumb.
And it's the same thing that, imagine if it was Chris Melton at the defense table. I imagine the prosecution would still be using 412 in the same manner. So it'd be issues all around.
Yep.
But prosecutors are going to do what they can when the judge will allow it. Oh, man. Yes, and no, there you go. We've got that DNA hit. We've got Elizabeth Bingham speaking to not Melton, Faust in 2024. And when he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, the state's arguing that that's him lying to police, which I strongly disagree with someone when they're not given the context or a way to think back 20 years. If they say, I don't know what you're talking about,
Right. Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
think that's
find that suspicious at all.
I don't think that's a malicious denial. I think that's just a genuine, what? So
If you asked me 20 years ago what I was doing on a specific day, I would give the same answer, unless there was something very monumental that was happening around the same time. Like I had gone on a trip, or I was pregnant, or September 11th happened, and those kinds of things. Then I could give a lot of context, but just some random day out of the blue.
well, I'll kick it up a notch. If you come to me in 2024 and say I raped somebody 20 years ago and I've never raped somebody, I'm going to be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
So
What?
like, because I wouldn't have a memory of that because I've never ever done that. So
Right.
and I'm pretty sure that's probably how they approached her. Like, hey, there's a victim of a murder and rape and your DNA is there. I have no idea what you're talking about because how could that be true? I want to give a thank you here, Credence and Mikey Monday, member for 3 months. Thank you. Good to see you guys. Mikey is always covering, and I saw the chat showing lots of love. If you don't already know Mikey, first of all, he has a McDonald's emoji in his chat, and I know you guys will love that. But second, covers a ton of arrests, body cams, speed chases, high-speed chases. You never know what you're going to get over there because as soon as you start up to watch one thing, a high-speed chase breaks out somewhere. So it always moves. We've also got KP here, Kissin' Pink, a member for 16 months. Thank you. That's a very long time. Happy 16-month chat-iversary. I love this chat. We love you back, KP. Oh, man. We have a whole day.
I'm sorry.
Well, we get to skip the lunch and the break. So.
Well, that's true too.
So far, no jury in and out. I'm ready to put up my outside the presence of the jury sticker when we need it.
Hasn't happened yet. I expect several when the cross-examination starts.
Put your bets in the chat at how many, all right, jury, we're sending you out when it's cross-examination. I'm going to say 3.
Oh, I think it'll be more than that.
You guys do over-unders in the chat. All right, let's hit this play.
How did law school affect Tara's free time?
Oh.
It definitely consumed more of her free time.
Okay.
She had to spend more time there.
And so at this point, you're in Athens. Where are most of your plumbing jobs happening, though?
Walton County, Gwinnett County, some in Rockdale County, and the northern side of Forsyth, and sometimes even in Hall.
Okay. So all west of Athens.
Correct.
Okay. Who were you working for back then?
Well, I started with McCart Plumbing, and I worked for them for 2.5 years, I would say. And there was a point that after I really had the hang of it, and I really knew I had a grasp, and I had been a crew leader at this point for multiple years.
So why were you cutting your hands up?
I decided that I think I was going to pursue a stepping stone, which at that point would be referred to as subcontracting. And so at that point, you would purchase your own vehicle, your tools, your equipment. You would have your own insurance, and you would have your own employment as far as employees that would work for you.
Okay. And so you're
Self-employed.
getting ready to try to take this next step that you just described. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. Well, I want to back up a little bit and talk about that and kind of the broader context of you and Tara's relationship. Obviously, Tara's a very high achieving person. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir. She is
Out of your
a large
league,
motivation
sir.
for me to so early want to pursue the next step.
And you mentioned it right there. You called it a motivation. Were you ever intimidated or discouraged or upset by Tara's achievements?
Never.
Okay. How did you take it?
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe that, chat? Take a vote. We'll put the votes on the screen.
I took it as a good thing. I was supportive. I knew from the beginning her ambitions, and I always try to be supportive in any way I could. And she did the same for me.
And so, we talked about when you were at McCart, you mentioned going out on your own subcontract and you got to get all this stuff for yourself. at McCart, were you using your own money to buy gas to go to jobs and fuel, or gas and fuel, gas to go to jobs or other supplies or anything like that? Or was that part of what was given to you?
No, sir. Once you are a crew leader, you're issued a vehicle, gas card, all your equipment, tools, fittings, and so forth. Whatever's needed to complete the job, they supply.
Okay. So who was paying for gas when you were working for McCart and living in Athens and having to travel for jobs?
When I was working for McCart, they paid for everything.
Was that the case for you as a subcontractor trying to go out on your own, or was it different?
It was different. Yes, sir. And I was responsible fully for everything.
All right. And so at this time, where were your folks living?
They were living, it's a Covington address, but it's in Walton County.
Okay. And so that address, was that closer or further from most of your jobs than where you were living in Athens?
Much closer.
Okay. Based on that, did you make any decisions about how you were going to spend your time between Athens and other places?
Yes, sir. I had just started working for myself, maybe a week prior. Okay. And
I'm going to stop you just a week prior to what?
to Tara's death.
Okay.
Okay. I was within within a week I had started. What I had to make a decision was to stay at my parents' due to the cost and the additional expense of the travel. I still wanted to keep my place in Athens. I had no intentions of moving from there, but I did like having my place, something close to Tara. So when we did have free time, we did have a place to meet, go. I could have my own space. But during the work days, I would stay at my parents'. That way I had a truck, a trailer for hauling equipment. They had the space, and they were roughly in one direction, 50 plus miles closer to most of my jobs.
Okay. And so at this point, and we're talking about January, within a couple of weeks of Tara's murder, do you still have your apartment at Jamestown?
That's correct.
Okay. How was the state of you and Tara's relationship, in those months leading up to her murder?
Everything was wonderful. It was difficult for us not to see each other as much as we would liked, but we were both in the understanding that we were pursuing future paths for us to have a better future together. And so she was supportive of my pursuits, and I would be supportive of her pursuits, but our relationship was strong.
And you mentioned in order for us to have a future together, is that something that y'all talked about, a future together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want to talk with you about some difficult things, obviously. I want to talk with you in particular about the morning of, well, let's start with Thursday, January 18th, going into Friday, January 19th. Okay. Did you talk, and I don't want you to tell me what people said to you, okay, but did you talk to Tara on Thursday, January 18th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what, if anything, was significant about that weekend that was coming up in a couple of days, sir?
It was her birthday.
Okay. And what was Tara's birthday?
It was the 20th.
All right.
And that would have been the Saturday coming up.
Did y'all have any plans for the weekend based on the fact that it was her birthday?
Yes, sir. She had, there was, I believe, law school students and even co-workers from the law firm, if I'm not mistaken. And we were going to go out and have a kind of a mixed mingle drink kind of social event in celebration of her birthday.
All right. Is that something you were excited about?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you know how Tara felt about it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did she feel about
She
it?
was excited.
All right. And then, I want to talk about January 19th of 2001. When you
That's
woke
it?
up that morning,
That's where they're ending what was happening on the 18th?
Why have we breezed and glossed over the fact that he had an apartment?
That was close by, right?
I want to know how close. I want to know where it was. I have way more questions now. I wrote it down because I'm like, what? Where? Oh my gosh. For real?
So I think this is still talking about Jamestown North Jamestown North is the neighborhood, but it's in Athens.
Yes.
And I know
he said Jamestown. Yeah.
And I know Athens is like a fairly big city, but it's not like
It's not
I
an
don't think
hour
it wouldn't be an
away.
hour. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
This is major development as far as I'm concerned. I hope Mr.
And they
Cruz is
glossed
paying
over
attention.
it.
Completely. I'm like, what?
Yeah. To me, it's more damning that we haven't really heard, because we've heard, and typically you're aware that Chris would stay the night at his parents', right? Which is 60 miles away. That's it. And that's all we get for January 18th. So, guys, we are now on January 19th, which is the day that everything happens.
And I had to change my colors because I didn't believe anything he was saying. I can change them back now.
Well, good thing my mic's just always red. I've never figured out how to actually get it to change colors or cared enough to really try. I love that. That's hilarious. W is in the chat for Miss Janet.
I'll change it back.
About what time did you get up, and what was your plan for the day?
Okay. I would have woken up somewhere between 6:30 to get ready.
From my apartment.
Josh McCurdy, who worked for me at the time, he would arrive at my house around 7:15, and then we would go from my house to Nash Plumbing. Nash Plumbing offered the ability to use my subcontracting abilities. Some companies would only work in-house employees, but Nash Plumbing would allow us to work there. So around 7:15, we went to Nash Plumbing to load up for a task. They would issue me that task that morning. We had just previously completed one within just a few days. Prior to that, we had started and finished it the day before. So at 7:30 to 7:45-ish, we arrived at Nash Plumbing to load up the materials for the next task. And then
I want to stop you for just a second there. You're saying you get assigned a task at Nash Plumbing. What do you mean by a task?
Okay. Well, Nash Plumbing has the licensing, the contract agreements with developers and contractors. They work the figure sides of things, the overall cost.
The bidding?
The bidding.
Okay.
Yes, sir. As a subcontractor, you are paid per fixture. And so there's a per fixture cost being such as something like and I did rough ends before the sheetrock went in the houses and so forth. The houses are studded when the roofing's put on. And so I would get the assignment from them. They would give me the address, the person, the superintendent to whom I would meet, and then I would go to the job sites and I would lay out with them the blueprinting and so forth and what is intended to be installed. And they would supply me in return. Nash would give me the fittings, the pipes, the glue, the adhesives, the fasteners, whatever's needed to be installed. But I've supplied the trucks, the vehicles, the fuel, and the help and insurance. That's the agreement at that point.
Okay. And so I just want to back up. You mentioned an individual by the name of Josh McCurdy. Is that right?
Correct.
And you testified that that's someone who is working for you. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How did you know Josh?
I met Josh when he came on to work for McCart Plumbing, and he actually ended up on my crew that I was in charge of. And when I decided to leave, he and I had a good relationship. We got along very well. I saw potential in him that he could gain in his abilities, and he was always reliable and so forth. I asked him, would you be interested to come work for me as I step out into this next leg? And he agreed, and that's where that started.
Okay. And I'm not going to ask you your full date of birth, but can you tell me what year you were born in?
78.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to do that at the front end there.
Good thing they didn't play his social either,
at this
like
point,
that
sorry,
other
let's
lady.
go back to January 19th of 2001, now that we have a little explanation of how the business model worked between you and Nash Plumbing. So on January 19th of 2001, you said you went to Nash Plumbing to get your task. After you get your task, when you're working for Nash Plumbing, is there anything else you have to do while you're there?
Once they tell me the amount of fixtures, the size of the house, I have to load up the appropriate fittings, pipe, the linear footage that's needed to be installed. And then we load that onto my vehicle, and then we take it to the job site, and we do the installation.
Typically, on average, how long does that process of determining what you need and then loading it all up, how long does that take?
Take anywhere from 45 minutes to even sometimes upwards of an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half.
Is that dependent on the size of the assignment that you've received or the task that you've received?
That's correct. Along with, there's other contractors there that hold, we'll say, the same contracting and subcontracting title, and they're also loading up. So sometimes you have to kind of move around and wait your turn to speak with the owner and so forth. But we're all kind of, if I'm there without other people, it can go much faster. But if it's a busy time like the subway or whatnot, so to speak, in the office, it can take you a little bit longer. And depending on the size of the house, yes, a small house takes less time than a large house to clear materials.
After you did finish getting loaded up, where did you go next? And I mean, I know it's been 25 years, but as best you recall, where did you go next?
I went to Wachovia in Loganville.
Okay. Is it the Wachovia in Loganville, do you know approximately how far away that is from Athens?
From Athens, 50 to 60 miles.
Okay. And about what time were you at Wachovia?
Right after I believe at the time opened, it's around 9 o'clock, 9 to 9:10, somewhere in that area when I arrived.
And so when you got to Wachovia, did you go inside the bank?
I did.
All right. And what were you doing inside the bank that day?
At that point, I believe I was depositing a check and I was withdrawing money.
Okay. After you got done at the bank, did y'all leave?
That's correct.
All right. And where did you go?
From Wachovia, I believe it went to Truck Customs in Loganville, just to talk to Bill, the owner. I had planned to have a ladder rack. We had talked about this and had something ordered in. That was a ladder rack that was going to be installed onto my work truck to help out, and that would be the next place, my recollection.
And I mean, Truck Customs, feel a little silly asking this question. Seems like it's right in the name, but what type of business was Truck Customs?
Okay. They would do modifications, all types of modifications, from tires to lift kits to toolboxes to ladder racks, anything that would help with, work or appearance on vehicles.
So the first time you got to Truck Customs, you made reference to a pipe rack a few minutes, or probably not even a minute ago in your testimony. Was that ready to be installed when you got there the first time?
No, sir, it wasn't ready.
Okay. And so what did you do at that point?
Josh and I went to a house in Grayson. We had previously completed that, the installation. So with that being said, we had to fill the piping with water, pressurized on the water piping side, and then you fill the drain piping with water to have it ready for inspection for the county to come in. And it was my duty to go back and do an inspection to make sure that we didn't have any leaks or any corrections that had to be made.
All right. Were y'all able to complete that task?
Yes, sir.
All right. Was there anything else that y'all were supposed to be doing that day?
Yes, sir. We had to go to Forsyth, the house I had loaded up the materials for earlier that morning.
From your task or assignment from that morning from Nash?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And where was that house?
That would have been, I believe, in the northern part of Forsyth County.
Okay.
In Forsyth County.
Did y'all go to that residence?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what phase of construction was this home in?
It was in the new development phase, so the foundation has been installed, the framing has been completed, excluding the roof. They had not put the decking on the roof, and they were in the middle of trying to get the decking put on. And it was, at that point, it was literally like raining that day, and rain was coming down inside of the house. And so I had the opportunity to meet with Mike, who was the superintendent. I'm not really sure who the contracted company was. It was doing, but I met with Mike, who's in charge of doing the layouts, and we got the blueprints, and we completed the layout for the house, and I unloaded the plastic fittings and piping because it wasn't really at risk of being stolen, not like copper piping. So I held onto that where I didn't have to haul that back and forth, and so we left that on the site.
Well, and you mentioned risk of being stolen and copper piping. The stuff that you left at the site, is that stuff you can turn in for money at a salvage yard?
Not really, no, sir.
Okay. And so given the rain that was coming down, were you able to complete what your task was supposed to be that day?
No, sir.
All right. And why is that?
With the water coming into the house, my next step would have been pulling electrical cords and electrical equipment to drill the appropriate holes in their location. So once that happens, it's too high of a risk of electric shock. So we just didn't go any further with that.
Okay. Where did y'all go from Forsyth County, as best you can recall?
I believe we went back to Truck Customs. I just swung back in just to talk to Bill to get some measurements to make sure he could construct the pipe rack at that point, to the right lengths and distances and pinpoints, and it still wasn't ready at that point.
All right. And so where did y'all go next?
I recall going from there back to Nash Plumbing and speaking with Jody Nash, who is the owner's wife. This would have been a husband-wife operation, but they were successful and they had lots of work that was coming through. But Jody is the one that was in charge of getting us to our appropriate assignments and paperwork. And I went back there just to swing in to let her know, this is where we're at with the Forsyth house, and I will be coming back Monday, to get that house started.
And where'd y'all go after that?
We went back to my house. I say my house, went back to my parents' house. Josh's vehicle was there at this point. He could go back home. He lived in close proximity. Go back home. We're on some downtime for the moment, because at that point, when I went to Truck Customs, we had established a time that I could return and it would be ready for the installation. I could leave the truck with him for an hour or so and he would complete the installation, and that's why we went back to my house for a short period of time.
Okay. And about what time of day would this have been at this point?
Okay, arriving back at my house, that would have been maybe around 2 o'clock or so, 2 to 2:30ish. I know that we had agreed to meet back up at my house around 3:30 to 3:45 to make the trip back to Truck Customs in Loganville, to drop off the vehicle. He followed me in his personal vehicle, where we could leave the vehicle and then just kind of run around and do some personal things and errands and so forth while that installation was being completed.
And what time, if you recall, were you supposed to be back at Truck Customs, or could be back at Truck Customs to pick up your truck?
That once it would take about an hour or so. Once I would drop it off at 4, it was going to take an hour and 15 minutes, he said, to have the installation complete.
Okay. Did y'all ever go back to Truck Customs to get that installation done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And about what time was that?
We arrived approximately around 4 p.m.
All right. While you were at Truck Customs, well, let me go back and ask this question. At that time period, what types of communication devices or ways that people could contact you did you have?
I had a pager, a cell phone / Nextel, if anybody recalls what Nextel is.
Oh, Nextel.
So that's
yeah.
the Nextel part
The noise.
aspect of it was mainly used through the contractors and glorified walkie-talkie. But I had a cell phone and a pager.
Yeah. Well, and it just for folks that might not remember, and I think I remember, but can you explain what was it about those Nextel phones? You said was it glorified walkie-talkie? What do you mean by that?
All right, Nextels could only communicate with another Nextel, and so you didn't have a phone number, so to speak, but you had a pre-issued number that you could type in, and then basically you would push the button and speak, and then that would directly alert the other person on the other line, and they could hear you, and then you would let off the button, and then the communication could continue back and forth.
So it wasn't necessarily like a ring and answer. It was almost like a system where you come on like a public address system.
More or less.
Okay. And so did you receive any kind of alert from anyone while you were at Truck Customs?
Yes, I received a page.
And that page, do you know who that came from?
It came from Miss Baker,
Okay. And when you say Miss Baker, are you talking about Tara or somebody else in her family?
Sarah's mother, Virginia Baker.
All right. And if you recall, what was the initial page that you received?
If I can recall, I believe it was her home phone number.
Okay.
Came through.
And did you reach out to Miss Baker?
Yes, sir. I
Like,
reached
call
out.
me.
I asked if I could use Bill's phone number, Bill's phone at Truck Customs, and he allowed me to use his phone for a moment to
We
return
had a
the call.
Nextel.
Okay.
We could still call
and
on it.
I don't want you to get into the specifics of words that someone said to you, but what did you learn when you called Miss Virginia Baker?
She had told me that there was a fire at Tara's residence. Her car is the only one in the driveway, and there was a body discovered in the fire.
Okay. In that moment, what was your reaction to hearing that information?
Devastated.
Oh, make it good.
What, if anything, did you do right after that as far as where you were going to go or what your plan was or what you were trying to do?
I recall once I got off the phone with Miss Baker, I kind of just was in shock, and I had to take a moment, and I recall, I believe somehow either I ended up taking a knee or 2 knees or sat down on the floor to have a moment to recover in the
What?
showroom. And then once I came around, the attention was on me, and I remember Bill, I believe, reaching out and asking if I was okay, and Josh was like, "Are you okay?" And I looked at Josh, and I said, "You need to get me to Athens right now," and he agreed.
Okay. So what did y'all do from there?
Josh took me in his vehicle. They had already taken my vehicle back for the installation, so we jumped in his vehicle, and he drove. And as we're en route to Athens, I'm trying to reach out to, I'm calling 411, trying to find Ashley and Valerie's parents from their last name. And kind of at that time, I believe I knew Ashley was from Milledgeville area, and I can't recall now at the moment where Valerie was from, but I did at the time. And I had also, when I was on the phone with Miss Baker, she had stated there was a body in the fire, and they did not know where Valerie or Ashley were at that moment. They had not made contact.
Was that part of the reason that you were trying to get a hold of them or their families?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to sustain that, ask you not to lead the witness.
Thank you, Judge. Why were you trying to get a hold of Ashley and Valerie?
I was trying to figure out where everybody was. I had, with the information given to me, I already felt at heart that I knew who this was just based on whose car was in the driveway, but I was uncertain, and I wanted to reach out to her parents and anybody I could get a hold of to see if they had been in communication, and also to inform them of what had happened.
Inform them? No, I'm
Did
taking care of
y'all
myself.
eventually
at this
arrive in
point.
Athens?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you arrived in Athens, where did you go?
What I can recall is when I was on the phone with Ms. Baker, I think Athens Clark County had reached out to her, and she informed me of that. So I reached out to Athens Clark County and called, and I went straight to the police department. Is where I was told to go from the police department. They said, come straight here. And so that's where we were.
And I think that it's kind of indicated in your answer, but let me just ask it to clarify. When you say that you reached out to Athens Clark County, is there a particular department or agency or part of Athens Clark County that you reached out to?
Not that I recall. I think it may have just been like the main number at that time.
The main number for what?
For the police department.
Okay. All right. And so you went to the police department. At any point, did you leave the police department to go somewhere else?
Yes. Once I was there, they had asked me a few questions in a room, and then they asked me if I would identify her body.
What went through your mind
What?
when they asked you that?
Why would they?
What?
I really did not want to agree at first because I was aware that there was a fire, and I didn't want to see any of them. No matter who it was, I didn't want to see
Any
what
of them?
devastation that may have caused. And it was difficult just to
Back that up for just a
comprehend
second. Did he say they
Yeah,
may have
he
caused
said-
or I may have caused?
fire. And I didn't want to see any of them. No matter who it was, I didn't want to see what devastation that may have caused.
What? He
That
said
is he saying that or I?
It sounded like I.
What devastation that may have caused. And
This is a
it was
Murdoch. This is a
difficult just to
Murdoch thing again.
comprehend. And then the detective, he asked if I would identify the body because he did not want the parents to have to identify the body, and I could save them some grief. So I agreed.
Where did you go at that point?
They took me to Deer Park, and they took me to the scene.
When you got to the scene, what did you do next?
Once we got out of the car,
Crazy.
the detectives wanted to walk me into the house to identify her, and we were stopped at the door, I believe, by a fireman, if what I can recollect, and he said he cannot come in here. And at that point, they came up with a different plan. They walked me back to the curb and said, "We're going to do this a different way." And they took a picture, and I got to identify her through a digital camera image from the camera itself.
I want to take you back to July of 2000. were y'all, when I say y'all, I mean you and Tara, were y'all celebrating anything special as far as a milestone or anything in that time period?
Yes, sir. Along the way of starting to date back when she was at her parents', when we kind of considered us exclusive, we both would agree upon that first date that when I came to visit would be our first, timeline. And so it was July 4th
timeline.
weekend. And so July 4th, we considered that our anniversary. Yes, sir.
So July 4th of 2000, based on what you were saying, 1998, is that what you just said?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So what anniversary would that have been for y'all?
We're looking at, what's that, 99, 2000, close to, I would say 3 years.
Well, so from July of 1998 to July of 2000.
To 2000, okay.
Yeah.
99, 2000, 2 years. I apologize.
Oh,
Did you
math's
get
hard.
Tara anything special for that anniversary?
Yes, sir. I got her diamond studded earrings.
How did she feel about that gift that you had gotten her?
Oh, she adored them. She realized, and we had discussions that, this is representation of where we've been and where we're headed. And she,
A roommate said
once she
furniture.
put them in, to my knowledge, unless she was to clean them or whatnot, she always wore them. Every time I saw her, she always had these diamond earrings in.
On January 19th of 2001, did you talk with police about those diamond earrings at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As when I was shown the pictures of Tara, I was in utter shock, just in the moment. But as I got to gaze upon these pictures, it did not look like Tara. And I couldn't, for certain, even identify her. And it just came to mind, if this is Tara, she's wearing the diamond earrings. And so they returned into the house. And then he returned back to me. And when he opened his hand, he had one of those diamond studded earrings.
So they took the earring off of her?
And that's when I knew for certain.
The earrings
Tara.
could have been in a little dish that she took them off at night. What is going on?
So you see the diamond earrings, and do you communicate your certainty to them that that is Tara?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, about how many police officers are out there at the scene, as best you can recall?
I know just regular uniformed police officers, I would guesstimate maybe 3 or 4. But surrounding me at that very moment, if you include the person that's holding the camera, I'm not sure if these are detectives, there's approximately 4.
Don't you want to know if he asked to get the
I'm
earrings
sorry. I
from her?
thought something was trying to get communicated to the bailiffs, Judge. So I just
Does anybody in the jury need something? Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, you may continue, Mr. Yeoman-Shilly.
thank you, Your Honor.
What?
So about 4 uniform, patrol 3 or 4, and then you're surrounded by some detectives. Is that what you just said?
That's correct.
Okay. What type of feeling were you getting in your perception of the way that those detectives were interacting with you and talking to you?
Jason, Your Honor, speculation.
Mr. Yeoman-Shilly, any response?
Yes, Judge. I don't think that it's speculation to ask Mr. Melton what his perception
Speaking.
of certain people's actions towards him were.
Overruled. You may continue.
Mr. Melton, I'll ask you the question again,
Oh!
sir. What was your perception
Okay.
of the way that those detectives surrounding you were treating you and speaking with you?
They were
And I'm not
suspicious
asking
of
you to
me.
say what people said, but what was your perception of the situation?
I felt as if they were gazing upon me, and I could feel the intensity from them staring at me as they were angry. And I would say,
Did you?
anger.
That's all right. And if you could, I know it's difficult. All witnesses do it. Make sure that you speak clearly and loudly towards the microphone so that our court reporter is able to make a record. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gazing.
All right.
Yeah, gazing.
Did you ever leave the scene that evening?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We when We went.
Right. Sorry, but to me it sounds like a guilty conscience. And, you know, I get that people always look at the spouse, the partner first, but I'm not sure in that specific moment if you just showed me something that would confirm for me that my loved one was burned and dead in a building, that my first feeling would be they're going to suspect me of setting a fire, because a fire just sounds like an accident.
The thing that gets me is I don't, someone bringing me a pair of earrings that a loved one of mine, is not any sort of confirmation that that is them in there. Because unless they're telling me they removed them from my loved one's earlobes, I'm going to have questions, because I don't wear any jewelry when I go to sleep. It all gets put in a tray, whatever I have on throughout the day. And so that could have been just sitting there, and they're like, hey, are these hers? So I find this to be weird first out of the gate.
So we did have other testimony that they noticed that there were studs in the ears, because Cruz has been emphasizing that nothing was stolen.
Correct.
But at the same time, I mean, studs, is there something that would make them distinguished from stud? Like, why couldn't Ashley or Tara or any other house guest, maybe a friend stayed the night on the couch and didn't get up as early as the other girls? Who's to say that they weren't wearing stud earrings? It's an odd way to be able to say at a glance, these are the same studs.
How come the roommate says the gift that she got from him was furniture? She never, ever said a word about diamond stud earrings. I'm just going to tell y'all, in 1999 or 2000, diamond stud earrings would be kind of a big deal.
And the friends on direct examination, both of the friends were like, she was so nice. She would never speak a bad word about anybody.
Correct.
She would gush over like anything nice you did for her. I would draw the pictures for her, and she would love to get the little note pictures from me, let alone an actual gift.
And they didn't testify that she got these earrings. There's something about these earrings. And you're right, that guy, Nick, how did he afford diamonds? That's why I'm still red, because I think lies.
Something like that would be, this is that pivot. This very Christmas, you go from being party guy, move back in with your mom. You think your life is on a decline. You try to step up. You think you're going to turn it forward, and you're going to keep the girl that you're afraid of losing. You think she's going to be so successful, and she'll leave you if you don't. And you work and work and work, and you get her this great gift. I'm going to get her these diamond earrings for Christmas. He's so excited to be able to do that for her, because it's going to reinforce what could have been let go. And then I don't know what's going on with this birthday, but if they really hadn't seen each other in 10 days, to me,
why? That's weird.
If you aren't having an on again, off again partner come hang out with you for your birthday, that's the sign that you are done.
Yes.
And we don't know. We don't have information to say one way or another that was the case, but there's signs that point to that might be the case. And this guy just got her a serious commitment gift less than a month earlier.
Yeah, there's something about these diamonds. And I also want to know if he bought them for her, why you could settle all of it. Show us a receipt. Show us a receipt that he purchased them, where he purchased them, that they're actually diamond and not CZ.
The whole chat is like, how do we know they're real? You're right, guys. You're right.
So
you're right.
I would not be like, oh, I know that's my loved one's earrings. Like, no. Now I have a ring that I wear all the time that Mr. Demeanor got me, that anybody that is one of my loved ones would know I am the only one. It's kind of distinct, in addition to my wedding ring. So no, this is not compelling.
I don't think it's going to get better, but let's see, chat. Let's see. Does it get better?
Yes. I was taken back to the police department at that point. Yes, sir.
Okay. That night when you were at the police department, did you speak with law enforcement?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you do so voluntarily?
Yes, sir. As there was a point in time that I was taken back to the police department. My parents, I had called to inform them what had happened. They had difficulty of finding the location They knew where I had an apartment at Jamestown North, so the police gave me, they took me in an unmarked vehicle back to my place where I could meet with my parents, and then my parents, we went back to the police station.
Okay. And is that the point at which you talked with police after your parents took you back to the police station?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a lawyer with you?
No, sir.
Did you ask for a lawyer?
No, sir.
Okay. When you spoke with the police that evening, did you tell them, or did you answer all their questions truthfully?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After that interview concluded, where did you go?
We were put up in a hotel, Holiday Inn, near the downtown area, and that was provided by the police department. They said you could, it was, when it was all concluded, it was late, and it had been an emotional day, and we were all exhausted. And we were put up in a hotel room, my parents, my mother, my father, myself.
Well, and let me ask you this and back up a little bit. When you interviewed with the police on January 19th, did you have any kind of things on your hands from working?
Things?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Things on your hand. Listen to this question. This
Could have
this
just said, what did your
prosecutor-
hands look like?
This prosecutor has to address things, I get it, but his way of questioning them makes it seem all the more sus.
Little bit. When you interviewed with the police on January 19th, did you have any kind of things on your hands from working?
Yes, sir, which I usually did, like primer, if you're
Oh.
glue, solvents.
Well,
you know,
that I believe.
they can stain your hands. You know, primer is purple.
I get it. They're going to say that he didn't have those injuries on the 19th. That's what they're going to say here. Watch.
In color. Some may even say kind of purplish blue, and whatever it touches, it stains. Piping cement, it kind of adheres to you pretty well, and I had things such as, I believe that on my hands. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I want to go forward now to January 20th.
That's
it? 2001. This is the day after. At that point, did you ever return to those Jamestown apartments that you had an apartment at?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My parents had taken me back to the apartment to grab a few things.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Melton.
But you couldn't stay in
how
the
do
apartment. You had to be in the
typically
hotel.
Deal with very stressful situations with difficult emotions involved.
Talking to other women.
Traditionally, I bottle it up inside, and I bottle it up inside and try to hold a secure presence
What?
for myself and the people around me. And yes, sir.
What happened on that day on
Like
January
your
20th, the day
presence?
after Tara's murder, once you got inside of your apartment, townhome, however you want to describe it?
Once we entered my apartment, my parents were with me, and I started having an extreme emotional moment.
Oh, he's talking
And
to the jury again. This
They
is important.
recognized that it was hard for me to hold it in any longer. And I do recall my parents coming to me and wrapping their arms around me and trying to get me to calm down. And in that moment, I actually felt claustrophobic. I felt restraint. And I remember pulling away from my father to get away from him. And then I spun around, and there was a wall in front of me at the bottom of the stairwell, and it was the sheetrock wall. And I just remembered unleashing my emotions on the sheetrock wall, and I punched it. I don't
Get
know,
the
maybe
net.
30 times, maybe more.
Did that
All right, so we're going to put up the picture of the hands, and there is a poll. Do you think this is consistent with punching
No.
a sheetrock wall? Because I don't.
Absolutely not.
And you would
Ab-
still see swelling, even if this was like the day after, because I think these pictures were taken on the 21st. Oh, let me move the Tina's comment. So, to
Mm-mm.
me, I don't think so.
Nope. I don't either. And I would love to know where all of the hair is on the top of his hands. They've got the
Looks
scale,
singed.
the measurement. I really would like to see a close up of that without the scale there, just to see, because it does look like all of the hair has been singed in that top part.
And to be clear, I think it's also the jury might have better pictures, because what we're
Mhm.
seeing is the court feed when it's projected through the Elmo. But these look like they'd have the 3 photographs, like able to, maybe the coloration, it's not so dark looking the way it comes off to us.
If he had punched the wall, he would have a tremendous amount of swelling on those knuckles.
Yeah, do we have records from the hotel saying there was damage?
Good question.
Good question, KLF.
He said, it was
Especially,
a sheetrock wall. He didn't say concrete or anything like that.
you know what? I'd expect the prosecution to be able to deliver for this because they paid for the hotel.
Yep.
So, and one more thing, you guys, all of this, what Chris Melton or anyone that was a suspect at the time is able to do here is something that is not even an option for the defendant here. A cold case, it just comes about because of a CODIS hit. You know, Faust never had the opportunity the day of, the day after, within weeks, within a couple months, to be able to have to know, hey, I need to know what I did on the 19th because people think I did something criminal. So here's me. I was at class. I was at work. I was in the hospital that day. There's no opportunity for Faust to have done that closer in time to when this actually happened. His first opportunity to even think that he needed to remember where he was on the 19th and what he was doing or not doing was in 2024.
I have a better question. Why aren't we narrowing down and having witness after witness come in and tell us what Edrick Faust was doing and where he was and how his alibi doesn't work? We haven't seen anything about him. We are talking about everything except him. This is bizarre to me. This is very Karen Reedish, very like, let me defend the McCabe's, and I'm waiting to see on cross-examination if he gives off the McCabe-ish testimony, because that's like a new word on my channel, McCabe-ish. Because he's doing fine on direct, but it's still not believable to me. This is exceptionally unbelievable. Sheetrock, there'd be massive holes in sheetrock for him to have what he has on his hands.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't look like that type of injury.
Now, a concrete wall, possibly, but that's not what he just testified to. He said sheetrock. Sheetrock's drywall, y'all. It's just a wall.
His freeze frames have been something else this entire trial. The other thing too, I have a feeling, I kind of hope the way the prosecution is leaning on Rule 412 here, the rape shield, I wonder if it might rubber band back against them in the wrong way, because by hamstringing the defense, by acting like there's no other suspect, we saw the other day that he's not even allowed to mention a police report where other suspects may have been mentioned. If I was a juror, I'd be like, why did they only look at these 2 guys and not anybody else? And that's actually not true. It seems like they may have looked at other individuals, but the jury is going to get this impression that they only looked at this guy and nowhere else. And what if I want to know about a random serial killer in the area, or a random like person that was trying to do a robbery, flipped out, just grabbed a laptop and ran away? What about one of the people from the law firm or law school, or just like a weirdo that used to follow her around campus? Like, to me, by not being able to get into the other suspects, I think the prosecution's actually stepping on their own rake.
I do too. And the other thing too, with his testimony, he turns to the jury as he gets ready to deliver all this damning evidence, is not believable. And the story of how he started his day, anybody that has ever known anyone that worked as a subcontractor, 90% of what he said is not believable if you know anything about. So I'm hoping there are some skilled trades people on this jury, because that would make a big difference. And you're right. They're saying it's either or, and that's kind of it. So yeah.
And Kierman, just to clarify, but he can't make that argument. The judge hasn't bound. That's my point. So the jury, because of what they're allowed to hear or not allowed to hear, I think they're going to get what's not really a true impression of the investigation. There were actually other suspects, but the prosecution is so like, ha ha ha, defense, you can't talk about any of it, that I think it's going to come off to such an extent that the jury might believe there was no other person looked at besides Chris Melton at the time. And that ends up reinforcing the defense's idea that they've been able to touch on a little bit, that the investigation wasn't like, it didn't follow all the processes. There were mistakes. Some things weren't collected properly. Now we're hearing we're taking jewelry off of a victim and carrying it out of the scene.
I mean, does that even sound believable? Does that sound
maybe.
like, I mean, that is weird to me.
It's the type of thing where either it didn't happen or it happened, and it just goes to show that,
How
maybe
incompetent.
back then, yeah, we're touching things. Maybe that's when some hair got pulled out of her hair and got dropped on a torso. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, just a lot. Oh, man. These freeze frames are killing me. Let's see if it gets any better, chat.
Do any damage to that wall?
Oh, yes, sir.
Did it do any damage to your hands?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, State, pull up the receipt.
Good. What kind of damage did it do to your hands?
It scratched my hands up. It swole my hands up. Fortunately, I didn't break anything, and I guess fortunately, I didn't find a stud in the wall. It was mainly sheetrock, and as I went through the sheetrock, I was finding, I believe it was the concrete siding on the outside. It was an exterior wall, so I was punching through the sheetrock and hitting the concrete siding.
Shut
outside,
the
and
front door.
I was knocking, to my knowledge, I was knocking the siding loose also.
Okay. The next day, that's January 20th of 2001, after you stopped at your townhouse apartment, whatever you want to call it, at Jamestown, where did you and your parents go after that?
We went back to my parents' house.
Okay. So on the 21st, did you speak with law enforcement again on that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is it that you were going back to speak with them about and do?
I believe to answer further questions. At that point, they were asking for further information, to my knowledge.
Okay.
And once I got there, we had discussed blood work and other things that may be needed, like hair samples and such.
Okay. Was this something that you were having to do because of a court order or search warrant or something?
No, sir.
Okay. Is it something that you did voluntarily?
Absolutely.
Okay. At this point, we're 2 days away from January 19th. You've already testified about how you felt the police were looking at you. Did you take a lawyer with you to that meeting on the 21st?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you honest with police about the questions they were asking you to the best of your recollection?
Absolutely.
Stand, I'll ask you to rephrase if you choose to rephrase.
Okay.
Oh.
Did the police ask you questions?
Yes, sir.
Did you
That's
answer them
great.
honestly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On that day, January 21st, were there any photographs taken?
They had taken pictures of my hands. I had to remove my shirt. They had taken pictures of my body, I believe, which included from my head to my waist, and I can't remember if I had to remove my pants, but I do remember from my waist up having to strip down to have
Remember
photos
moving
taken
your
also.
pants? I'd remember that.
After you finished having
humiliating.
photographs taken,
Yeah.
did you end up having blood drawn?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember, and if you don't, that's fine also, but was it the same or a different detective who talked to you on the 19th and the 21st?
I believe it was the same.
Okay. And so after you finished that interaction with police officers, what did you do?
As far as, can you rephrase, can you ask
Sure.
once again?
Yeah. So we've talked about you go and talk to the police, then you go and do a blood draw. What did you do after you got done with the blood draw?
We went back to my parents' house.
Okay. Obviously, there's an investigation going on during this time period. Did that investigation continue to your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How, during this time period, how are people who were in your life reacting to the investigation and to you?
I know, just distance.
Overruled. You may continue.
I'll ask a question again, Mr. Melton. How were people in your life or around your life reacting to the investigation being ongoing and reacting to you?
I could see that there was distance occurring. Like, people would just it started fading away. Friends, and even, I hate to say, even family members that would just stop communication. And if it was discussed or brought up, or if I was in an area or a room that people knew of what had happened to Tara, I felt that I was being looked at as the person that would have called.
This is, if he was the defendant in this trial, this is where I'd be yelling, this is why you shouldn't take the stand, because all of this to me just points to guilty conscience. And that might not be what it was stemming from, but that's how it comes off. That's how it comes off. People and people thought you did it. They didn't want to talk to you. Is it in your head, or did they really have a reason to think that you did it? Neither of those options really looks good.
Well, I don't like the fact that he keeps implying that because he didn't get an attorney, that somehow proves his innocence, because that goes down again and again and again as something that you are not supposed to call light to, because everyone has
against the defendant, or you can't speak on the pre-arrest silence of the defendant. But the prosecution's weaponizing that. I think the prosecution's prompting that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's wrong, because I can tell you right now, before all the craziness that I've seen in trials, I never would have been, an incident happened and I never would have been like, I need an attorney. But now something happens, I'm like, oh no, I'm not saying a word to you. I'm getting myself a good attorney. I'm calling Bob Mata. Bob and Allie, hey, I need help.
Heck yeah, run on down there. I think what the prosecution wants to harp on, again, this idea that almost 2.5 decades later, when Faust is questioned, like, hey, you raped somebody, and he's like, what are you talking about? You're a liar. Compared to this guy who went the same week, within 2 days, and was speaking to police. Yeah. So they're gonna draw that contrast there, which I don't think is a very compelling contrast, but the state seems to. So
no, I think they're trying to explain why he wasn't at the vigil and all of that stuff too, which is complete bovine scatology, because even Scott Peterson went to all of that stuff. So,
and if you're able to go out, if it would be one thing if he was stuck in the house and nobody could get him out of bed, but he's out and about, but then can't go to the memorial. Like, to me, that doesn't seem like a depression setting in. To me, that seems like, oh, we're going to steer clear of this one thing that makes me feel like everybody's looking at me. His face is in these freeze frames, man. Not.
This. And that's the perception I was feeling. That's feelings that I was getting.
You testified earlier about having a tendency to bottle up your emotions. How were you doing emotionally during that time period?
I'm struggling. I am struggling.
Massive anxiety at what I did.
Daily, I have to put on the best way I could describe as a facade to make it through the day. I understand that I have to make it through daily, but at night or whenever things stop, such as work or things that can keep me sidetracked, especially the nights were horrible.
Yeah, because that's when you did it. Allegedly.
Well, and then you're alone.
I would find myself
right
on my knees, pounding the ground, the sand, whatever. Just finding myself so mad at God.
Me.
That I couldn't understand. And I would wake up so many times for the longest time in fetal position where I just cried myself to exhaustion.
With another girl holding you?
But every day, each time I would be so angry.
Just shut off?
and find myself in this position. As mad as I was and not understanding how God could allow the devil and his angels' house.
Oh my
I
gosh,
would feel
this is
warmth.
giving off Jason Autry.
Thoughts in my head that weren't my own, telling me not to give up, not to give in.
What is even happening?
And it gave me the strength to get up each time and strap on my boots and carry on through the day. And this cycle continued
No chairs.
for a long time until I just couldn't recall certain things and it would fade. But through the days, I would just find a way to make it through and keep my mind occupied and just dread of the next night to come. And it was so difficult. But I found a way.
Yes, Jesus should
Jesus, help
object
me.
right now.
Get through this and carry forward. Is that?
Mr. Melton.
Yes, sir.
Overruled. Overruled.
What?
What?
It's not non-responsive. He's huffing on the stand, going, Jesus, this and
You know what? I wouldn't have objected if I was the defense attorney. I would have just let this keep rolling. So
Me
I think
too.
the judge accidentally just helped the defense here.
Is that?
Mr. Melton.
Yes, sir.
Overruled. Overruled.
Mr. Melton,
He just
I'm
looks
going to
up.
ask you, sir, did law
There's
enforcement
not a tear.
continue to reach out to you at certain times during the investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. When they reached out to you, would they ask you for things or ask you questions, or what would they talk to you about?
Just different things.
different things.
I'm sorry, it's hard for me to get my thoughts together at the moment.
Well, that's okay. Let me ask you this.
There's no need to wipe. There's nothing there.
At any point, did you refuse to speak with law enforcement or retain an attorney to speak with law enforcement?
No, sir.
Okay. What was your mindset as far as, why you were continuing to be cooperative with the investigation?
I always believed that
Believe
the truth
what?
would set me free. I had nothing to hide.
That's a weird answer, I think. Because what did you have to tell if you don't know anything? What truth do you have to tell?
Sir,
Mr.
you don't
Melton,
need
thank you
to
very
speak.
much.